I'm Phil Constantine. On this episode of Travels with Phil, we're going to Great Smoky Mountains National Park. It is located in the western part of North Carolina, the eastern part of Tennessee. You can see it here, straddling the borders of both states. It's a fairly large national park, about 816 square miles. We're going to do an overview of the entire facility, look at some scenic views, some forest and flowers, animals, waterfalls, weather-related pictures, and some history of the area. So let's take an overview and start at a general view. Encompassing over 800 square miles in the southern Appalachian Mountains, no other area of equal size and a temperate climate can match Great Smoky Mountains National Park in number and variety of animals, plants, fungi, and other organisms. It is the most biologically diverse national park in the United States. Located within the Appalachian mountain chain, the park became a refuge for many species of plants and animals that were displaced from their northern homes by changing climate conditions during the last ice age. The Smokies are one of the oldest mountain ranges in the world, formed perhaps 200 to 300 million years ago. Elevation in the park ranged from 850 to over 6,000 feet, a change in elevation that mimics the climate and habitat variations found from Georgia to Maine. Plants and animals common in the southern U.S. thrive in the lowlands. Species common in the northern states find suitable habitat at higher elevations. The crest of the Great Smokies run in an unbroken chain of peaks for over 36 miles. The park's abundant rainfall and high summertime humidity provide excellent growing conditions. So the pronunciation for this, in my bad Cherokee, is Shaconage, or Shaconage, which it means something blue like smoke or blue mist. And you can see from these pictures here why they're sometimes called the Blue Ridge or the Smoky Mountains. This map gives you a general view. There are several places where you can enter 4 basic entrances to the park. The roadways, by the way, going through there are free. If you want to stay for any length of time, you may have to pay for a parking spot. There are the 4, again, major visitor centers. They have all kinds of nice, or 5 actually, they have all kinds of nice facilities there, information there. But the beautiful scenery is what most people go for. So let's look at some of these scenic views. Just absolutely gorgeous. Again, you've heard of the phrase atmospheric river. Well, with some time-lapse photography, you can actually see the clouds flowing through. And it's these clouds that give it the name Great Smoky. There are mountains, there's trees, there's ferns, there's plants on the ground, water everywhere, just all kinds of water flowing through there, hundreds and hundreds of miles of creeks and streams. Very beautiful. A little bit humid for me, but especially during the summertime. But you get the colors changing out here in that time of year. The reds, the oranges, the yellows, the purples. And then the other times of the years is just very green. All kinds of different forests here. See from some of these gorgeous shots. This video is a little longer than normal just because there's so much to see here. It's just such a magnificent park. It's on closer to the East Coast. It's one of the reasons why it is the most visited national park, beats the Grand Canyon, because there's so many people close by that can get in, or relatively close by. Lots of different valleys, mountains, Just gorgeous, gorgeous pictures. Sunrise or sunset or the middle of the day. So let's look at some of the forest and some of the flowers. There are 8 major forest types, which cover about 96% of the park. You have spruce fir, northern hardwood, cove hardwood, hemlock, oak hickory, pine oak, what they call a montane alluvial forest, and a successional forest. Beautiful flowers. I really remember the flowers everywhere. And there's an example of some of the humidity where it's just damp out there. Some spots at the higher elevations get over 80 inches of rain a year. This is bringing up the water from the Mississippi Valley, the Atlantic, meets here depending on which way the winds are blowing. And it just rains. Lush growth. Tiny flowers in some places, large flowers in others. Rapid moving little streams or creeks, waterfalls, drip, drip, drip of water, snow during the wintertime, ice. This carpet of flowers here. You see some of those logs out there that are covered, they become what they're called nurse logs, where things start growing from them. They provide nutrients to the soil. Little time-lapse photography. Just peeking through the flowers at more flowers in the background. Ferns that are out there. I love these when they unfurl. Bluets, all kinds of varieties of flowers out there. Some mushrooms growing out of the trees. And a little critter out here is trying to clean up the mushrooms. So, speaking of critters, let's go over and take a look at the animals that are in the park. Yes, indeed. Hello, squirrel. Wild turkeys all over, owls, all kinds of birds. 200 kinds of birds. Lots of four-legged animals. Deer, wild pigs, and bears. Now, I've had my wild bear encounter in Grand Tetons. There's a mom telling her kids to get out of the way. Phil's here. Here's one of their older relatives. Up in the trees, so climbing a tree to get away from a bear is not usually a good idea. Caterpillars before you have butterflies and moths. And speaking of butterflies, pretty wide variety. Lots of different colors. They help spread the pollen along with the bees. Some of them get pretty big. Some of them real tiny. And speaking of bees, we also have the trout. Now, there's a couple of non-native species that are there now. Frogs. And some people call it the salamander capital of the world. This is a rare salamander right there. And the ungulates. Always thought that voice seemed just a little high-pitched for such a big animal. Now, there's only one lodge in the entire facility, and it's up on the top of a mountain. You have to walk up there. And for a long time, I think since the 80s, they've been using llamas to carry their supplies back and forth to the lodge up there. People have to go up, too. They're more sure-footed than horses. And one of the things I love most about the wilderness, Travels with Phil continues here from Mingo Falls in the eastern band of Cherokee Indians reservation. Actually, it's a land trust area, so it's not a reservation. You can see part of the river coming through here. A little bit of the bridge coming over. Come over to the other side. Lots of trees have fallen down into the river, but as we pan up, there we go. Mingo Falls. Very pretty. Now, most of the waterfalls are not that tall. They're under 40, 50 feet high. There's a few that are above that. Some more time-lapse photography for you. I do love waterfalls. And granted, this time-lapse photography gives it a bit of a lacy kind of feel to it. Just lets you see a little bit more than you might in this period of time. Plenty of water out there, so it's a very lush environment, good for growing if you've got the topsoil. So let's look at some pictures that are related to the weather. Yes, Virginia, it does snow in the Great Smoky Mountains. It gets quite cold out there during the wintertime. Third highest peak east of the Mississippi is located in the park. Cleveland Dome. There you go. That's the viewing tower there at the top. A little icy. Some more of the atmospheric rivers now. These are just the time-lapse photographies of the clouds as they move along. So you can see they're laden with moisture. The ripples in the waves there. Fascinating pictures. And you can see the condensation building up. Storms come through quite often. They've had tornadoes there. Obviously some lightning. Some more of the forest toward the upper peaks. Sometimes they spend almost the entire day in the cloud cover, peeking out every once in a while. A little chilly for my taste. Beautiful. So let's look at a little bit of the history, post-Cherokee history, that is. They do have some old homes out there. Get the park ranger to tell you about it.
Historic structures that were brought from different locations in the park to this area here so that folks could experience what types of facilities a mountain farm would have had back at the turn of the 20th century. The main feature of the Mountain Farm Museum is the historic house that's down there, and that house was built by John Davis about the turn of the 20th century.
Hattie's grandfather's home, the Hiram Caldwell House, has become an enduring icon of Oconaluftee. Hiram's son, Eldridge, Hattie's father, was 5 years old when the family moved into the house, where he would eventually start his own family. Hattie was born in the Hiram Caldwell House in 1927 and lived there for the first 6.5 years of her life.
Closest neighbors that my grandparents and the Bennetts had was 6 miles away, and that was the Cherokee. And they had their trail that came through Big Oconaluftee, and they'd sometimes go up across Mount Sterling, would stop and spend the night. They wouldn't sleep on the porch. They'd give them food if they had it, you know. And there was never any trouble with Cherokees. Got along wonderful with them. In fact, 3 generations before me spoke Cherokee.
'30s film.
Since it came into existence in 1916, the National Park Service has set up long-range plans. Sometimes retaining walls are 100 feet high. Heavy stone parapets give travelers natural surroundings. There is being preserved a record of the life and customs of some of the most interesting of the early American pioneers. The southern mountains, every precaution is necessary. Fire towers, location finders, communication lines, and firefighting apparatus. Standard equipment in...
So I'd like to say thank you to the Great Smoky Mountains Association for their assistance and the use of some of their material to produce this, and also the National Park, and obviously my own pictures and videos. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please feel free to make comments below as long as the language is family friendly. And if you like this video, please click on the thumbs up button below. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel by clicking on the circle with my picture in it in the lower right hand corner of the video. The arrow is pointing at it now. And once you have subscribed, you can be notified of when I have a new video posted by clicking on the bell icon in the description field below the video. Thanks again for watching.